Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 1,219th regular meeting of the Livonia City Planning Commission. I wish to inform all interested persons in our audience that for petitions on our agenda that involve a question of zoning, the Planning Commission will make recommendations to City Council, and the City Council, after holding their own public hearing, will make the final determination as to whether the petition is approved or denied. The Planning Commission will hold the only public hearing on requests for preliminary plats and or vacating petitions. The Commission's recommendation is forwarded to City Council for the final determination as to whether the petition is accepted or rejected. If a petition requesting a waiver of use or a site plan is denied tonight, the petitioner will have 10 days in which to appeal the decision in writing to City Council. Resolutions adopted by the City Planning Commission become effective 7 days after the date of adoption. Planning Commission and professional staff have reviewed each of these petitions upon their filing. The staff has furnished the Commission with both approving and denying resolutions, which the Commission may or may not use depending on the outcome of the proceedings tonight. If our Secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Here.
Mr. Bonjero is absent. Mr. Long.
Is here.
Mr. Ventura. Excuse me, Mr. Ventura.
Is here.
Carmagno's here. Chair Wilshaw.
Is here. Also with us tonight, we have Scott Miller and Stephanie Reese from our Planning Department. For folks in our audience that haven't been to one of our meetings before, the format is we will read each of the agenda items on our agenda one at a time. We'll give an opportunity for our planning staff to give background information on the petition. We'll ask the petitioner to come forward and speak to the petition and answer some questions that we may have. Then there will be an opportunity for anyone in our audience who wishes to speak for or against the petition to speak afterward, and then we'll make our decision. I do believe, Mr. Secretary, did you miss someone on our roll call?
Yeah, missed the name right there. Last name again, sir.
Droz here.
Droz.
Mr. Jones is here as well.
Yep,
Thank you.
not on the list.
All right, great. Thank you. And with that, if you're ready, Mr. Secretary, we're going to go into item number 1 on the public hearing section of our agenda.
That's petition 2024-08-01-04 submitted by Skilkin Gold under section 13.15 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended, requesting to rezone the property at 37355 8 Mile Road, located on the southeast corner of 8 Mile Road and Newburgh Road in the northwest quarter of section 5 from C1 local business to C2 general business.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Miller.
This rezoning change would facilitate the development of a Sheetz gas station, convenience store, and restaurant. The subject property contains a two-story commercial building that is currently vacant. Due to the slope of the site, the building has a one-story appearance from 8 Mile Road. The site formerly contained a Rite Aid drugstore facing 8 Mile Road and a Caddy Shack golf shop that faced Newburgh. Area to be rezoned measures approximately 79,880 square feet, which is 1.83 acres. You have 264 feet along 8 Mile Road by 285 feet along Newburgh Road. The surrounding neighborhood, to the north you have the city of Farmington Hills. To the west across Newburgh, you have Greenmead Historical Park, which is zone PL. And to the south and east, you have the Whispering Willows Golf Course, which is also zone PL. Gas stations and drive-through restaurants are treated as a waiver use in C2 district. Thus, if the zoning change moves forward, the next step would be a review of site plan by the Planning Commission and City Council. The preliminary plans show a one-story, 6,139 square foot building near the middle of the site. Access would be provided by 2 driveways, one on 8 Mile Road and one on Newburgh. Along the 8 Mile, plans show 6 fuel pumps with a capacity to accommodate 12 vehicles. Parking for up to 55 cars are shown along the building's north, south, and west side. The drive-through pickup window is shown on the south side. Exterior of the building would be constructed out of brick and cast stone. An outside patio is shown along the north and east side of the building. And that's what I have so far.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there correspondence on this item?
Yes. We have first letters from the Department of Finance. It's dated August 28th, 2024. It says, "I have reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. As there is no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to this proposal. Please contact me if you have any further questions." And that is signed by Connie Kumpala, Chief Accountant. Next is from the Office of Treasurer. It's dated September 6, 2024. "All taxes and water payments are currently on this property at this time. Thank you for the inquiry." And that is signed by Sue Nash. And then the third letter is from the Department of Public Works, Engineering Division. "In accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed rezoning at this time, but we would like to note the following items. Number one, the subject parcel is assigned the address of 37355 8 Mile Road. If additional addresses are required, the developer should contact this office after site plans have been approved. Number two, the legal description included in the submitted drawings appears to be correct and should be used in conjunction with the project should the rezoning be approved. 3, the existing parcel is currently served by public sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewer. The submitted drawings do not include any information regarding proposed services to the building, but the design engineers for the projects have been in contact with this office and are aware of this department's requirements. We will review the proposed services once design drawings are submitted for permitting. Number 4, as noted, design calculations are not shown on the submitted drawings, but the project will be required to meet the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance, including stormwater detention requirements. Number 5, a traffic study for the intersection should be completed to determine if either of the access points would need to have restricted turn movements. Existing traffic backs up past the proposed access points during the evening rush hour, so turning movements from the site may need to be restricted. Number 6, the grading plans are included with the drawings, but we have concerns for the proposed parking lot and drive approach grades. The existing site has a large grade difference between the north and south side. The developer needs to make sure that the pavement and walkway slopes do not exceed allowable minimums. Number 7, the work within the floodplain will require permits from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Eagle. Number 8, any work within the 8 Mile Road right-of-way will require permits from the Wayne County Department of Public Works. And that is signed by David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. And that's the extent of the correspondence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. And we did receive a copy, I believe, in our packet of the traffic study that was done for this property, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that satisfies one of those issues that was raised. Is there any questions for our planning staff? Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, Scott, I missed the study meeting with the power outage, but so is the intent for them to bring that they have a drive-through on the south side? Are they intending to bring that back end back up to grade? Is that?
That is a question. I mean,
I can ask them as well,
yeah,
but I didn't know.
Because I think it is pretty, it's a different grade, so.
Yeah.
I'm curious how they're gonna do it, maybe retention.
Okay, I didn't know if we were aware of that yet. And, I realize that this is just zoning at this point, but I think that's a significant factor in this. So we'll have to ask the petitioner, I guess. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Any other questions for Mr. Droz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One point of clarification or question. During our study session, we talked about the future land use for this particular parcel. And I don't think it was noted in the packet, but at the meeting we discussed that the change of this parcel to a Parks and Community designation likely was an oversight, and it was intended to remain commercial. I just want to maybe just
That's
make that
correct.
point of
It was
clarification.
probably before even the Rite Aid was there. I mean, it probably has never changed once that rezoning. It should have probably been changed at that time, but it stayed that future land use. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions or comments to our planning staff? If not, I'll ask if the petitioners in our audience feel free to come forward. And again, I do want to iterate, as has already been mentioned, that the request before us tonight is for a rezoning request. So the focus of our meeting tonight is going to be on the change of zoning from C1 to C2, which is a change in commercial zoning. There will be some discussion about the site plan and how this property is going to be used, but we're not going to be giving detailed review at this point of the building and building materials and so on. So we're going to try to focus our comments mostly on the zoning and is this an appropriate change of zoning. So with that, good evening, sir. We'll ask that you start with your name and address.
Sure. Yep. Good evening. My name is Drew Miller. I'm with Skilk & Gold Real Estate Development, 4270 Morse Road, Columbus, Ohio.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Miller.
Yep. Thank you. Good evening to the members of the commissioners and city staff. Thank you for your review of this project. Tonight, we're really happy to be back in front of you with this new location for our proposed sheets. With us tonight is John Cecil from Wade Trim, who is our engineer. So if there is some concerns about the grade or anything revolving that or the traffic, we're happy to answer those questions. Alex Sawicki with Sheets is here as well, and he's going to take over and explain a little bit more about what's proposed.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Sawicki.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Alex Sawicki. I'm from Sheets. You can find me at 39300 West 12 Mile Road, Farmington Hills, Michigan. I do have a PowerPoint presentation this evening. Mr. Miller, do you think it's possible to bring it up?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you the backstory on Sheets, and then we'll get into the site specifics here.
Mr. Sawicki, right before you start, I know, Scott, I don't know if you can turn the TV on that's behind you.
I
or
did,
not.
it just, but it's like it's not,
If it's not going to play nice, that's fine, but
for some reason, I don't know.
I tend to like to look over that.
I'm hoping it stayed, because it did it before and then it went off. so-
Okay, thanks. All right, go ahead, Mr. Sawicki, thank you.
You can go to the next slide, please.
Oh.
Okay, so Sheets was founded in 1952 by Bob Sheets in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Over 70 years later now, we are still family-owned and operated with over 750 plus locations. We actually just opened one up this morning down in the Toledo area, so I've been traveling across state lines today. We originally started as a restaurant and carry-out, and that very much holds true to our values today. As you can see on the next slide here, we are still family-owned and operated. There are no franchises in our company. All our stores are 100% corporately owned, and they're run and managed by the Sheets family. So about 16 people of this tree here that you see come and work in our business every single day. Moving on to the next slide, so getting to that restaurant and carry-out mentality, you can see that we offer a full kitchen. So we call it MTO. You'll see that logo in some places, but it stands for made to order. You can get all sorts of combinations out of our kitchen. Last time we calculated, you can get 1.8 million different combinations out of our menu. So that means you can get these are really bland recommendations, but you can get a breakfast sandwich at 3 in the afternoon, or you can get a salad at 3 in the morning. We also have Sheets Brothers coffee. You can get, again, you can make it any way you want it, but you can get your specialty coffee drinks, you can get smoothies, you can get milkshakes, you can get more. And then that convenience option. We have an incredible convenience offer in our stores. You can get all the snacks and drinks you can think of, and all the way down to all your grocery items like bread, eggs, and bacon. We have, in that restaurant, we have 30 interior seats, and we have up to, or I shouldn't say up to, we have 16 seats outside. So you can, sit down after you order your food. You can eat. You can join a conversation with friends, send off an email, whatever it is that you need to do. You order that food on our touchpad menus, which you can see in the middle photo there. So you literally walk up to the kiosk, just click on the screen, however you want to order, whatever you want to order, and we'll make it up for you. We have that same technology out at our drive-thrus. So when you pull up to our drive-thru, which this location is proposed to have, instead of talking to someone, you can actually touch on the screen what you would like to order, pull it around, and we hopefully will have it ready for you. So getting into a little bit of our building, we do a state-of-the-art building. Our buildings are top-notch and they look incredible. So we have four-sided architecture. That means our buildings look good from just about every angle you can look at them. We use full section brick and stone. We have a great selection of architectural metals, great color palette. The buildings really do look awesome. Again, like I said, we also have that outdoor seating. You are a great PowerPoint clicker. You're on it. So we take our local investment and benefits to the community seriously. So this location is going to be around a $10 million investment for us, a lot of which is the geotechnical concern, which we'll discuss the grading here in a minute. Much of our construction investment is spent locally using local contractors, and all of our engineering work, like John over here, is spent on local firms. This location will have 30 to 35 jobs, primarily full-time employment. If an employee's availability allows, we always prefer to have full-time. The tax assessments on this property will most certainly increase, which is always a plus. But then we also give back to the community. So we have a few different charities at Sheets. One of them is Sheets for the Kids. We also do donations to local food banks. So this store every single week is going to make a donation to the local food bank. And we also partner with Special Olympics at every level, so national, state, and local. And then we also do plenty of donations to local schools and organizations, you know, Drama Guild, the T-Ball Club, those types of things. So getting into those employees, those 30 to 35 jobs, we really believe in being a top-notch employer. So we offer full medical, dental, vision, paid time off, parental leave, employee assistance programs, retirement, bonuses, tuition reimbursement, and of course you got to get your MTO while you're there, get your food and drink discount. To prove what a good employer we are, I just want to talk about some of the notable awards that we've won just this year, and one we actually just won this morning. I was able to sneak that in here a little bit. So Great Place to Work and People Magazine has recognized Sheets as one of the top 100 companies to work for in the entire country. We actually ranked number 9 this year. Great Place to Work and Fortune Magazine, which you'll recognize from the Fortune 500, also named Sheets one of the top 100 companies to work for. And then Newsweek and also Great Places to Work named Sheets the second best retailer in the entire country to work for. We got that one this morning, number 2. So we're really pumped today. So enough about Sheets culture. Let's talk about this site specifically. So this is a request for a rezone from C1 local business to C2 general business. It's a 6139 square foot building, convenience store, restaurant, gas station, located southeast corner of 8 Mile and Newburgh Roads. So there's a little map there. As the planner said earlier, it is 1.3 acres, and it has 6 fueling pumps with 12 stations and a convenience drive-through. Another look at the elevations to see that full section brick and stone, the colors and metals that we use. It's a really good looking building. Here's the site plan. I know you've all seen it. It's kind of small up on this screen, but we do have parking on all the sides, the building down towards the south there, the canopy kind of central to the north, and the 2 cuts onto the 2 public right-of-ways. I wanted to show you guys the sidewalk plan of the building. This is kind of a specific question that came up during the planning session, but this kind of shows where the seating is going to be, that there's plenty of room to maneuver around that seating. This is the floor plan. It's pretty busy inside our stores. We do offer a lot of things. So you guys will be able to take a look at that. If you guys haven't been to our first location in Michigan, down in Romulus, I would encourage you to do so. That location is bigger than this one, but once you go in, you're going to get the same general feel. And finally, I have some photos of some real-life stores in operation. This is one of our canopy and building. This is on the south side of Columbus, Ohio. Another one up close and personal of our main entrance. That is our indoor seating area, and you can see the touch order screens a little bit better there. And that one is another view of the canopy in the building. And then finally, to the request. So a reminder, this request is for a rezone from C1 local business to C2 general business. And with that, I am here to answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sawicki. Let's see if we have any questions for you. Any questions from any of our commissioners at this point? Mr. Droz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So included with our packet was a traffic study, and I guess as we look at rezoning this parcel, I think you've demonstrated that you can make your product work within the site. Is Sheets in concurrence with the traffic study and prepared to make those recommended improvements as part of a future project?
Yeah, so we're still looking at the traffic study and making sure the feasibility of the construction recommendations, but in general, yes, we agree with the recommendation.
And then my second question was regarding the stormwater management. So there's, I think, rather significant erosion issues within the Whispering Willows golf course adjacent. And I guess I'm just looking for concurrence that full compliance with Wayne County stormwater is intended.
Absolutely, they wouldn't issue us a permit otherwise.
Fair enough, thank you. No further.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions for our petitioner? Mr. Long?
So as I stated earlier, I'd like to understand what you're planning to do on the south side, and as a frequent a visitor to Whispering Willows, I'm very concerned about that stormwater runoff as well.
Sure. So the soils there are quite bad. If you guys are familiar with the site, the building is it's kind of falling down. If you look at historical images from Google Earth, you can actually see the amount of concrete on the lot has become larger and larger over time. So we're anticipating to spend about $1.5 million to remediate the geotechnical concern on site. So that will involve digging out all the bad soils, replacing them, bringing it up to a relatively flat grade, and that would include a retaining wall and special foundations for a building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Any other questions? Mr. Ventura?
I understand, and you described, I thought very well at the study session, how you're going to bring big stone in there and build the site up so that it's stable when you put your building on top of it. However, the elevation at the entrance off of Newburgh Road can't change.
Correct.
So what will the grade difference be between the restaurant, as the floor level of the restaurant, and the elevation at the entrance?
John, do you happen to have that answer? Our engineer will be able to answer that better.
Sure he will.
Hi, my name's John Cecil. I'm with Wade Trim, 1145 Wayburn Street, Grosse Pointe Park, Michigan. To answer that question, we understand that the entrance elevations are set. We've set the elevation of the building in such a manner that it's not going to be exceeding any sort of steep slopes. We're anticipating somewhere around a 3.5% slope down through that entrance. Actually, that entrance comes into the site, so we are respecting those slopes. We are going to make that work and meet within tolerance. So we're expecting somewhere around a 3-4% slope coming from the Newburgh up into the site.
In terms of feet,
Well, it's probably about 3 feet. I don't know offhand exactly,
3
but
feet over what distance?
probably about 100.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our petitioners?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Caremagna?
Mr. Sawicki, tell us, we're entertaining rezoning this property. Why is this a good location for a sheet store?
I mean, this is it's a great location, let's put it that way. We take a lot of pride in our site selection. We look at traffic patterns, we look at consumer spending data. A whole lot of algorithms go into that, and then also the gut feeling of our real estate personnel. You know, they have an excellent track record over the past 70 years of selecting awesome sites. This is going to serve a great demand in the community right in this general area. There's not too much comparable offer, so that's why we believe it's going to be a great spot.
Do you expect to pull a majority of your business off of the local roads, the local neighborhoods, or do you expect to pull business off the highway, or a combination of all?
I would say a combination.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camarino. Any other questions? No other questions from any of the commissioners? Then I will go to our audience. I'm going to give our audience members a chance to speak. You just want to sit for a moment,
Great.
Mr. Sawicki. Folks in our audience are welcome to come forward to our podium. And again, we'll ask that you start with your name and address.
I'm Dave Hall. I live at 37300 West 8 Mile, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Thank
Good
you,
evening.
Commissioners, for listening to us tonight. I'm disagreeing with my friend from Sheets. If you look at the traffic in that area, I live right on 8 Mile. This is going to be right across from my house. I have a picture of my house that I'd like to show everybody. And the front room, the front room to the right, that's my bedroom. So I'm going to be getting lights
You can just pass it to Ms. Reese there.
from
Thank you.
from their building all day and all night. This is 24/7, 365 days a year. The traffic is already unbearable there. At 5 o'clock, I cannot get out of my driveway. This is going to cause major accidents. I mean, I've got kids that drive. We own a landscape business also that we run out of our house. We're grandfathered in from the Farmington Hills. We've owned this company. We've owned the house for 40 years. I've owned this company for over 40 years. We started this thing when we were kids. So I'm definitely afraid of my kids pulling out. They've got to go 3 lanes to make a left-hand turn. And now we got cars coming eastbound. I'm telling you, there's going to be accidents. You can see the accidents already. There's an accident every other week on that corner. I mean, bad accidents. We hear it all the time. The lighting on these buildings, you can see how lit up they are. I mean, and this is going to be in my yard. I have no privacy. I'm going to have no privacy at all. 24/7, 365 days a year. This cannot happen. We love to open our windows. We got windows, big, beautiful windows. We love opening them at night to get a breeze into our bedroom, and it's beautiful. I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. I'm going to be listening to riffraff and all kinds of, they sell beer and wine here. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, the gentleman already said 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be able to go in and get a salad. And this is outrageous. Traffic. And you can call this what you want, but all I know about Sheets, and I've read on them, this is a truck stop. This is a truck stop. And 275 is 1 mile down the street. So they cannot tell me that they're not going to have semis in this place. And then this eating deck we just found out about on the south east side, or it'd be the east side of the building. That's, again, this is what I got to deal with. It's already bad enough that I got to deal with Whispering Willows having a party there and their band playing till midnight that I have to deal with. And now I got to deal with this. I just hope you guys turn this down. I don't think we need it in our community. They can go to 5 Mile and Haggerty or anywhere. That's a big commercial area. They don't need to go here. So my wife and I, we oppose this.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your comments. We appreciate that. Mr. McNabb, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I've got a couple of copies of my presentation here if you'd like to see. I wasn't able to print out too many. So Tonight, I'd like to speak that as a crow flies, my house is 2,500 feet from this property across the golf course. But more importantly, it's downstream to this property, and I'll talk about that in just a second. The bottom line to this is what's being proposed is taking a bundled business that is clearly permitted in a C3 zoning classification and rezoning a piece of property that is clearly and appropriately and presently classified as C1 by reclassifying it as a C2 with justifying with waivers. Now let that sink in. Basically allowing a business that belongs next to an expressway off-ramp, not in a residential neighborhood. The topography of this property is horrendous. You've noted that here tonight. If you look off 8 Mile to the south, that property drops at least 20 feet. You look off to the east, it drops another 10 to 15, maybe 20 feet, and it's all into the golf course. But more importantly, it drops into a stream back there. And that stream connects up to the Bell Branch, which also connects up to the Rouge River. If we get a spill, it's going to be devastating. It goes through the golf course, it runs past our houses, back through the golf course, back to the other golf course on 7 Mile, and out through that property. A spill would be devastating. The wildlife that's in those ponds, if you pull up one of his slides up there that shows the property with the ponds, the golf course, you'll see clearly. Nope, keep going.
That's all I have.
Thank you for this slide.
I don't have it.
There's one that is an aerial view that shows ponds. It's not this one, but there's another one that has ponds of the golf course. And they're right there next to it. It's within 20, 30 feet to the east, and where the yellow line is at the bottom there, that's that creek that runs through there. But there's a pond. You can just see it squeaking out in the top left or right corner up there. There's a pond there. The traffic patterns, it's horrific. The egress problems onto 8 Mile and Newburgh is going to be a problem. If you see my slide there, number 4, you can see the red arrows. Those are the problem points that you're going to see. You have to go across the different lanes, but it's not conducive at that point. That's why the drugstore didn't make it there, I'm sure. It's very difficult for people to get in and out. And now you're talking about trying to get a large 12,000-gallon oil tanker in there? 96,000 pounds on that property. You're going to build it up, and then you're going to expect a 96,000-pound trailer full of fuel to pull in there to load up the fuel tanks. There's no good way to exit the property going west or going south. And it's not just at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The undesirable noises and smells from a gas station. Regardless of the wind directions, you can look at any one of those directions, north, south, east, west, or points in between. It's all residential. Any type of operation like this is best suited not in a residential setting. The potential for contamination into the residential water system. There's a 40-inch water main that goes right into that corner from 8 Mile. There's waterworks just down the street there on 8 Mile. The main line for all of those residential properties comes through that corner. If anything happens to that water line, we're all screwed. The potential for crime, according to FBI statistics in 2022, convenience stores and gas stations were the site of 14% of the robberies and 5% of violent crime. Shoplifting by juveniles, multiple customers in the stores create problems. Who wants this problem in their neighborhood? Especially when the higher crime translates into higher insurance rates. There's also a 2020 study by the FBI that talks about the robberies, homicides. Convenience store is number 4 on the list of those crimes. Do we really need a gas station right there? Do we need that convenience store, the takeaway? There are no less than 18 gas stations within a 2.5-mile radius. I showed you the map on the paper there. All of them are not in a residential area for good reasons. Let's be honest. Do you really want this in your neighborhood? Let's talk about the rezoning. Rezoning from C1 to C2. The major concern for this form of business at the proposed location are problems of noise, odor, lighting, fumes, dust, danger of fire and explosion, crime, and traffic. C1 is classified as a local business district. C2 is general business district. C3 is highway services district. That's where this belongs, is somewhere that's C3. The location chosen is definitely a C1 classification. It's a monumental stretch to try to get it into C2 and then give them all of these little waivers to allow it to be a C2 when it really belongs in a C3 with no waivers. So find a spot that's a C3 and forget the C2s. Leave our neighborhoods neighborhoods. One other thing on the zoning. This is considered a limited service and carry-out restaurant. It says so on the sign out front. It says present zoning, and then it says request change to G2 general, propose limited carryout. Limited, the word limited is key here, correct? In your section 6.51 of the zoning ordinance 3160, it says limited service and carryout restaurants with or without outdoor dining areas are subject to several conditions. Number C is drive-up window facilities are not allowed, they're prohibited. There's a drive-up window there. Who's kidding who? Is it limited or isn't it limited? Either get rid of the word or abide by it and abide by your own ordinances. My bottom line here, I would like to suggest that they move it somewhere else. There's many locations, 8 Mile and Haggerty. If they want to stay in Livonia, let's find them someplace else that's more conducive. I don't know whether or not 7 Mile and Farmington is a good spot. There's a building that's been sitting there for, God, only who knows, it was 15 years, empty, huge parking lot. Let them build there. Let them get their lights there. There's nobody that lives there. So, in conclusion, I thank you for your time. I thank you for consideration. I'm all for business. Don't misunderstand me. But that business does not belong on that corner. Let's find something that does. Thank you very much.
Mr. McNabb, I know who you are, but can you please give your name and address just so we have it on our record? I appreciate that.
Ralph McNabb, 36372 Fairway Drive. And I got to apologize. I got a sore back.
Oh, we appreciate that. Well, all your comments will be on our record, and that way we can attribute it to you. So we appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay. You do have 2 copies.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
They'll be part of our record. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. You're next.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Again, can I ask who we're speaking with?
My name is David Sharp, and I live at 21462 Beaufort Lane. And this is a subdivision, Meadowbrook Hills, Woods and Forest, which is right across from Greenmead.
Okay.
As a master gardener, I worked in Greenmead. I'm a major contributor to Greenmead, and we're very close to Greenmead, as you might know. I'm a retired teacher. I taught in Detroit for 34 years. I founded the Finlandia Community Gardens at the Finnish Center. Many of the people who use our gardens are from Livonia, and many of our members are from Livonia. And as a matter of fact, my wife and I go to church in Livonia. We've even owned a piece of property in Livonia, so my heart is close to Livonia.
We appreciate that.
What I haven't heard from anybody tonight is the experience that I have with this community area. Now, you, perhaps not personally, but certainly the city of Livonia has created a most beautiful area in the southwestern part of your city. You have, as I mentioned, Greenmead, you have the golf course. It's an environmental center because we have, as was mentioned, ponds and many animals that are frequently seen in this area. We even have turkeys. You have an opportunity this evening to make an important decision. Your decision is hopefully going to be in keeping with the decisions that have come before to create this beautiful area. Now, I want to address the gentleman from the Sheets.
Please speak to us,
Because
sir.
I want you to know that I thought that was an outstanding presentation and a beautiful place. What a lovely place to buy food. But it's not belonging there. This should be placed in an area where there's noise and all of this other thing that have been mentioned here, not in that location. You have a beautiful area. I don't know how many of you have ever been there. Maybe you all have been, maybe often. But it is an extraordinarily nice area. And we're just going to be very, very sad if it has to change. I hope that you will, in keeping with your previous decisions, not allow these people to put this here. They're fine people, but they're in the wrong place. And I would appreciate that if you would consider it very seriously.
Well, thank you for your comments, Mr. Sharp.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Ralco.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Greg Ralco. I live at 36116 Fairway Drive, Livonia, just east of the golf course in Golf Ridge Villa. We've been there about 10 years, and we like the area, but we don't like the traffic. That's a very big concern. We live close to 8 Mile, and traffic is especially with the freeways, and they've been all diverting up and down 8 Mile because of the freeway work that's been done. 275, of course, the 696, 96 corridor as well. We don't go a week without having at least 1 or 2 police officers parked right on our entrance to our subdivision. And pulling people over left and right. And I know there's a police officer here, so I'm ratting them out. But give you a sense of the speed with which people are going through that area, and just the volatility of that area. That corner, I think you have to remember, when you're going northbound on Newburgh, it's 1 lane going northbound. The right lane is a turn-only lane. And during the 275 construction, we had so many people at that corner avoiding 275 that they were proceeding through that intersection in both lanes and then getting over. And there was plenty of accidents. I called the police. I said, you can have a field day in pulling people over, and they did. They were out there almost every day. So the traffic is a big concern. I used to be in the fast food industry years ago, And the biggest question that I have is, how many cars or how many customers, I mean, and they've done all their research and they've done their projections, how many customers do they expect through there on a daily basis? On a weekend, during rush hour, during breakfast hours? How many people do they have? Because you have to factor that in when you're looking at your traffic assessments. They'll underestimate it, but I'm sure their projections, and they're great people. I love that industry, and I think they're a noble family-owned operation. However, that's a very interesting thing to know, and it's a good thing to know, because you don't want to underestimate. And then when they open up that day, that they have double the volume that they're representing, or that your traffic patterns and your thinking about traffic can sufficiently accommodate in that corner. That's a bad corner to begin with. Ralph mentioned the number of accidents, or the first individual that spoke tonight about the accidents, and there are plenty of accidents at that corner. It's kind of in the corner of the of the city, but it's accident prone. The other thing too is proximity to 275. I think there's unequivocally their projections in their revenue model has to accommodate, or has to count the number of people that are going to come off 275 to go there, because I don't think there's enough people in that area to support such a huge operation. Certainly the fuel, but you got fuel, as was said earlier, you have fuel that's just at the Kroger on 8 Mile, and then of course the brand new Speedway. So there's enough fuel there. We don't need fuel, okay? And if that's part of their business model, then, and they're banking on stealing customers from both of those corners, then I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe they don't need fuel, or they do need to be closer to the proximity of the freeway. I don't know where the Romulus operation is, but I will almost bet that it's probably close to I-94. And it's a bigger operation, as you said, but it's probably close to 94, which for that reason, the designation, I believe it said G3 or C3, close to proximity of a freeway, is more conducive to what they're offering. Meals at all times of day, who wants those? Not the people that live there, not the families that live there, okay? And this is a family business, not the families living around there. They don't need food 24/7. The people that need food 24/7 that are passing through. And we don't want people passing through, okay? How do you protect your neighborhoods, okay? You don't have people passing through, okay? And that's a big problem. And I hate to even venture the number of people, and the people, where are they coming from? Where are your customers coming from? When you have proximity to neighborhoods, okay? I've seen the cop outside our subdivision. I said, come here and park at 3 in the morning. Okay? That's when I want them there. And he said he doesn't work nights anymore. There was a mention of a couple other locations within the city. I'm not going to do their real estate for them. We know where they're at. We have the Jeffries Freeway coming through. There's probably places there, or this may just not be a good place for them. But it certainly is an encroachment on the people that live there, and the inconvenience of a convenience store is going to be placed on the residents that live near there. It's rich in irony, but that's exactly what's going to happen. I won't go west out of my sub. I'll go to 7 Mile. I'll go down Gill to 7 Mile. I'll avoid that corner. And there was a comment there about Rite Aid. I didn't shop at Rite Aid that often because of that reason, getting out of that corner. And it's a blind left turn if you're trying to go south coming out of that corner. It's a blind left turn going south on Newburgh, because you're allowing people let you cut in, right? And then there's someone plowing through on the left turn lane. That's the reality. I've seen it, and I've avoided accidents, but I've seen accidents. We don't need that. We don't need that. Not to mention the construction. This is going to be a huge inconvenience for everybody, for Greenmead, for everybody. How long is this thing going to take? How long is it going to take to build? He's got major geography, topography work to do. How long is this going to take? What's the traffic flow going to be for us living there during that period of time? It's not a good location. You remember over in front of on 8 Mile and Haggerty, where they put that pod out in front of the bank, right on that one strip near the corner. And that lot always used to crack. And it was the soil underneath there. It wasn't conducive, or what they did, they didn't do it correctly. And forever, that whole lot was, you had waves of cement, and it was unsafe, and it was just, they had to redo it so many times. If you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and I think that's what they're trying to do here, that's just not a good place for it. Ideally, on a flat surface. You don't create a flat surface where there's not one. And everything around it is exposed to the ramifications that could be created. I think we need to be aware of that. I think we really need to be aware of that. So I'm adamantly opposed to it. Not opposed to sheets, you know, in family businesses and things like that. I applaud them, and it's always nice to have them come into our community, but this isn't the right place for it. And the last thing I'll add is, before I moved to where I am now, I used to live in Laurel Park too, and I was the president of the Homeowners Association. And years ago, it probably predates most of you that sit on this committee, was Showstack wanted to put in a development on that corner. And it was, they wanted to put in a drive-through, a Del Taco drive-through. And I've got a lot of the people in our subdivision that were pretty upset about it because of the hours of operation and the lights and the noise and everything, and they didn't want it. And it was interesting, the committee said one thing, it said, that area we don't have drive-through. It's a nice area, we try to maintain the image or whatever of that particular plot of land in that area. This is no different. It's just 2 miles north. And so I think that was pretty revealing when they said no to it. And then you got Qdoba, and then you got, you know, now the Walgreens there. And so that was a nice development. It was something that the people locally wanted, the Walgreens there, because that was the convenience that they liked. And it was for the people around that area. This isn't for us, okay? This isn't for us. It's for the people that are going to come off 275, that are going to go up and down 8 Mile, and they're going to cause numerous accidents, but they're going to cause the inconvenience of this convenience store. And so I would be grateful that you say no to this. I don't think it's in our best interest, and I appreciate you listening to me ramble on.
We got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Alco.
All right.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi. My name is Karen Hall. I live at 37300 West 8 Mile Road, right across from where it would be.
Mm-hmm.
My main concern is, I know we talked about the traffic, and when they are doing construction, this whole time they were doing construction on Newburgh Road, I literally had people coming around my circle driveway all day long, in the evening, during the night. Of course, when they're coming up, the lights are shining into my bedroom. They're loud. I just think it's going to impact me the most with this being right across. I try to get out in the morning to go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning and come home at 5. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I wait through 3 lights to get out to 8 Mile to take a left to go down to Farmington Road. I have to make sure that there's no cars coming, because if I don't, one time one of my sons got hit, got T-boned coming into my driveway. And the traffic's horrible there. And I just want to make you aware that it's horrible. And the other part I'm concerned about is the crime. That when these people are open that late at night, how many people are going to be coming up to my door? When Rite Aid was there, they came up to my door. When the house that used to be built there, they would come to my door to use my phone. For me, it's security. And that's going to be all gone if this goes in there. Because they come up to my door. And I don't think anybody else wants people coming up to their wife's door at night. And it's a scary thing. So I really oppose this because of the traffic, the crime. If I go down to 8 Mile in Farmington to the Speedway, I'm walking out and there's people that are on drugs asking me for money because they say they want to fill up their car. And instead they take the money and they leave. Are they going to be coming up to my house asking me for money? That's what I really worry about that. So I just want to make sure you know how bad the traffic is and the crime.
Well, we appreciate your comments. Thank you for bringing those to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be careful. Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. My name is Linda Allen. I live at 37203 Whitetail Court, Farmington Hills. So I'm about a good block distance down from 8 Mile and Newburgh or 8 Mile and Halsted, whatever you want to call it. I'm a strong supporter of Livonia. My husband and I lived in Livonia just about 30 years, raised our children, and our daughters went to Stevenson High School. So I know Livonia through and through. However, in conjunction with the previous speakers, I can't agree more with them on everything they said. I really don't want to regurgitate the same thing, but all of the items mentioned are so applicable. We've been in our brand new built house for 4.5 years, and I never imagined the traffic problem. Number one is the traffic problem at that intersection of 8 Mile and Newburgh or 8 Mile and Halsted, however you want to name it. And like the residents prior that have spoken, this is a major, major concern. There's always police present. There's always an accident. There's also people always rerouted. And you're taking 5 lanes off of Newburgh. One, of course, is a right turn lane only onto 8 Mile. But you're basically taking 5 lanes, that includes a center lane, and you are going to 2 lanes. So already it's a major backup problem like everyone else has mentioned. So that's one point to reiterate. Second point is I did a little bit of homework because there was a proposal by this organization for 5 Mile in Newburgh. Read up about it. I don't know why it was denied and turned down, but it was denied for that location. I have very close friends that live in the 5 Mile Newburgh area off of Hicks or by the Italian American Banquet Center, all along there. And what they determined was, once again, we already have multiple gas stations. We don't need something like this. Well, just going 5 miles or 3 miles north isn't going to change the opinion of residents in the local area, whether they're from Northville, whether they're from Farmington Hills, or whether they're from Livonia. We all feel the same way. Now, I don't have any children at home anymore because they've grown up, but I know in my 17-home small new subdivision, there are many brand new families with a lot of small children. I don't think it's safe to have this location. I respect what they want to do, but as the previous people have said, it's just not the new home for Sheets. They need to find another location more along the lines of the C3 zoning. The other thing is that has anybody considered, okay, right on the corner of 8 Mile and Halsted is a daycare center. all those little children, okay? Now, I'm not saying accidents are going to happen. There is a fence and all that, but we all know the unexpected does happen. There's children out several times a day on recess playing all the little gymboree articles outside. I know if I was a parent dropping off my child, I definitely wouldn't want to see that across the street. So I'm sure that Child Time and that business are not too thrilled either. I don't know if they've entertained any input to you guys, but I would think that's not a plus for them. We moved from our home in Livonia, which was just 2.5 miles away. We were off of 7 Mile by Fox Creek Golf Course to Farmington Hills. And the reason why we stayed there is because we love the area. We love what it's about. We love my husband golfs constantly at Whispering Willows. You know, it's just a nice, calm, non-noisy area. We all want it to stay that way. We don't want all this, and I determine if you can get this at 3 p.m. and this at 3 a.m. like the other people said. We don't need a 24/7 truck stop service at 8 Mile in Newburgh. I'm sorry, it makes absolutely no sense at all, and I think it's actually going to really bring down the Livonia community and the communities that butt up against Livonia. I just don't think it's going to be a nice look, even though like everyone said, the building's gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely stunning, but not the right location. So I am very much opposed to this. I didn't move to that location in Farmington Hills with all these beautiful subdivisions and these monumental homes across the street with the wrought iron gates and everything and the beauty to have that thing bring down the entire surrounding area. I want to commend the gentleman that really methodically went through everything. I think his name was Ralph. Anyway, so he did an outstanding job, and he did it very well, and everything he said was exactly correct. And the neighbors are very, very concerned because we've all talked in the last week amongst ourselves. So thank you very much for hearing me, and I hope you deeply consider what all of these residents are saying.
We appreciate your comments and coming to our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Hello. My name is Jerry Allen. I'm previous speaker's husband. Just wanted to bring up a few points. First off, I live at 37203 Whitetail Court, Farmington Hills. I live behind Child Time. I really appreciate what the other speakers in opposition to this have had to say. Fully agree with them. I won't reiterate all of that, but I will point out a few things. I ride my bike practically every day through that Rite Aid parking lot, and I can tell you that trying to cross the crosswalk there, even walking my bike across, is taking my hands in my life in my own hands. It's dangerous. The other thing to consider that my wife brought up was about Child Time. Our daughters went there years ago, but when the gentleman from Sheets is talking about doing a traffic study, the traffic flows there vary depending on the seasonality. I know some of you were saying that you golf at Whispering Willows like I do. In the wintertime, it isn't too bad. You're not golfing in the snow. Now, it's bad, okay? And you've got traffic going in and out of there. You've got that right lane where people decide that they're going to go into Whispering Willows heading northbound, then others are going to 8 Mile. You've also got the situation where you've got different events going on at Greenmead at different times of the year. I mean, they had a Scottish festival there a couple of weeks ago. You've got in and out traffic going there primarily during the spring, summer, and fall, maybe even in the winter sometimes. The other issue with Child Time is the fact that when you're going northbound, those 4 lanes with the middle turn lane, which is kind of like 4.5, 5 lanes, those whittle down to a 2-lane road because Newburgh becomes Halstead. Well, in the mornings and the afternoons, and sometimes even around lunchtime, if you've got kindergartners, people are stopping to pull in heading northbound. And so you got this situation where the traffic backs up due to that. You've got kids, keep in mind, Child Time's got their own buses, so you got those buses going on. The other thing is, God forbid, going back to what Ralph was saying earlier, if they were to have some sort of a leak, or God forbid, an explosion, I don't think any of you want to be having to explain why numerous injuries and possibly deaths of young children due to something like that. And with a 19,000-gallon tanker that's coming down 8 Mile Road off of a hill from the top of Greenmead, just imagine if somebody goes into the rear end of that thing. As other people have said, we have a speeding issue on 8 Mile Road, even on Halstead Road, because it's such a long stretch of straight road. I just think that that's a risk that's not worth taking. I've been in Sheetz before. I used to work out in the Pittsburgh area. I like their stores. I like their food. I like the convenience. But to reiterate what other people have said here, this is the right company for Livonia, but the wrong location. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Allen. I think there's one more gal. Go forward. Anyone else wishing to speak, please be ready. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name's Kathy McRae. I live at 21126 Center Farm. It's technically a Northville address, but I'm in Farmington Hills in the sub-kitty corner from the proposed site.
Got it.
And I would like to say that, yeah, a bunch of us are from Farmington, but we probably shop in Livonia more, a lot of us, than Farmington, just because I go down to 6 in Newburgh all the time. So,
Sure.
I mean, we support your city. Anyway, again, I agree with everything everybody said so succinctly and eloquently. And I would just like to add 2 things. You know, early on, one of the earlier speakers, either the Sheetz or one of these 2 gentlemen said, you know, well, we'll limit traffic turning out of the station onto the main roads. We'll put a no left turn sign there. That's a joke. I mean, there's one down at the Speedway at 7 in Newburgh, and people turn left out onto Newburgh all the time out of there. Who's going to police that? I mean, it's literally an accident waiting to happen. No one pays attention to red lights anymore, let alone a no left turn sign. And then the other thing is, another factor that hasn't been mentioned yet is litter. I mean, those places are going to have a lot of litter floating around the parking lot, and it's all going to blow down into the ponds on the golf course. You know, people can't even put their trash in a trash can. They just have to open their door and plop it down on the pavement. So it's going to get pretty gross pretty fast. I know you can tell me, oh, we'll have someone go clean up the area, but I just don't see it happening. And just in general, it's a jarring proposition. That's the only word I can think of as jarring. You're going from this one-story, kind of laid-back drugstore to this building with red, and it's got a canopy, and it's just going to be too much for that site. It's going to be the only word I can think of is jarring. So that's it for me, but thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. There is another gentleman coming forward. Good evening, sir.
Hi, folks. My name's Rocky Fowler, and I live at 37250 West 8 Mile in Farmington Hills, pretty much right across the street from the proposed location. Really, I share the sentiments of all the previous speakers as well, so to spare you of any of that redundancy, but I would like that those are very important statements and comments. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams. My office is at Haggerty between 8 and 9. I do feel that's something that I don't know if that was brought up or not. You know, it's nothing against Sheetz. I think that it looks like a beautiful place. It's just the wrong location. And I think for a lot of reasons, I don't think the proper traffic situation was assessed thoroughly enough. The previous people, again, not to be redundant, but they've made up some, or made some very important points on that. The accidents, I see it firsthand. I'm on almost an acre right there, and I thought that it would be a great location. The only thing, the noise with 8 Mile, I know that we all have to, that's already there, but this is going to add to that. Like so many of the other residents, I've invested in landscape and different things to adjust to that. But this is something that I don't think we have the capacity for. I will say, no one can, predict the future and to certainty say that it's going to bring down our property value. I think the homeowners would concur, though, that would factor in. I think, too, I would just implore you all to consider what our parents and grandparents said over the years. Nothing good happens after midnight. And I'm not saying this, lightly either. I have kids, plan on having grandkids. I've been there for 20 years. And I don't think anything good happens after midnight either when it comes to, I don't know if there's proposed liquor sale there. I assume there would be, but, 24 hours. And so, as the gentleman from Sheets mentioned in the very beginning, he prefaced with, the contributions to the, kids and Special Olympics, I believe, or the, that's admirable. But on a very immediate level, that's my main concern is the kids. And I would implore you to consider that when you make your choice. That's really the main, again, all my sentiments have been mentioned. That's really the big thing, though, your traffic, but not just the traffic, but the fact that it's 24 hours. It's the wrong place. It really is. I don't think it's good for the city. It's good for any of the residents around either. So,
Well, we appreciate you coming out and speaking.
thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. We have a couple people left. Please come forward. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Julianne Mihalis Levine. I live in 37284 Rosedale, which is Halstead Hollow neighborhood, which is just north of the 8 Mile Newburgh Halstead, on the north east side.
East side, okay.
Okay, so that first neighborhood north of 8 Mile. Clearly, so many important points have been made this evening. Clearly, they have a business model that's excellent, and it goes to whether this is really the right location for that. It's a very pastoral feel to that intersection, and I think we all understand we don't want to lose that feel with, the investment Greenmead, Livonia, the city of Livonia has put into Greenmead, what they've put into Whispering Willow, the Farmington Hills on the north side. The neighborhoods that have been developed there are beautiful neighborhoods. I would just add a couple additional points. I don't know if you've talked to the city of Northville, but I moved into that area. Actually, I lived at 9 in Halstead for 10 years prior before moving there, and I moved there in 2011, Halstead Hollow neighborhood. And the lot where Linda and Jerry have moved into, and the development there, the residential neighborhood there, when that 10-acre lot went up for sale, an assisted living facility wanted to come in and redevelop it, and it went to rezoning before Farmington Hills City Council and all the surrounding neighborhoods, because we were all notified. See, we were not notified. Needs to be understood. Your requirements of notification to the neighborhoods was very limited given the distance.
Sure,
And
it doesn't
there's a
extend
lot
into
of
your city.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
We were all notified when the rezoning was going to occur, and all the surrounding neighborhoods, Goldstream, Applebrook, Meadowbrook Hills, Halstead Hollow, all came before the City of Farmington Hills Council and explained how we wanted to keep this area a residential area and the importance to that and the community that we had built there and invested in. So I just want to give you that background information, and it needs to be considered because a lot of people in that area haven't been notified. We only found out in the last week or so, and we have been networking with our neighborhood associations to make people aware of that. So there would probably be more people here this evening than what you have if those neighborhoods in the Farmington Hills side had received the notification.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you coming and making your comments.
Yeah. I also want to add that I think it's been brought out, a 24-hour site. Since I've lived in that corner, in that intersection, and I shop at the Haggerty and 8 Mile area, you know, there's the large Meyer stores. It is well known and documented that having that 24-hour, which they've cut back since COVID, but having that 24-hour clearly became a crime scene for the city of Northville. So I would ask you to also speak to them about the issues of having a 24-hour location open in that area, and people have spoken to their concerns about crime.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry for the amount of time.
Oh, you're
I'm
fine.
recovering from a stroke.
Good evening, sir.
My name is John Elieff, and I own the Rite Aid where this project is going. And I've noticed more than a few people have referred to it as a truck stop. And the Sheets at Metro Airport is a gas station and a truck stop. There's truck fueling facility in the back and regular motor vehicles in the front. This location will not have a truck stop. There will be no fueling for trucks. It'll be strictly for people who live there. And I had some people mention the Rite Aid failed because of getting in and out. The Rite Aid was there for 25 years, and they had trouble with their opioid lawsuits, over $1 billion nationwide, and they closed all their stores in Michigan, not just this one corner. And Sheet's proposal, if you look at the drawing, they're using the two far driveways from the corner. They're eliminating the driveway closest to the corner, so they wrap the corner, making it a lot safer for traffic coming in and out of the site. Also, one neighbor mentioned he's going to have lights coming at night. I have 40 lights, tall, gigantic lights on that property, and I keep them on all night long. Now that Rite Aid closed, they're off. But for all the years I had the property, those lights are on all night for safety. And they're not proposing any more light at that site than we have, and probably less. It's a good location, but the building is old. It's over 30 years old. It needs something new. And I was impressed with Sheets when I was out of town, and I drove to the new one just the other day when they opened, and I loved it. It was beautiful. And they were busy, but they're nothing like a Chick-fil-A where cars line up and cause traffic. Their drive-through I didn't see one car while I was there. Most of the people got their gas, grabbed a bite to eat, either pre-made food, which I did, and left, or they got something made to order. And I like the fact that I went in, the restrooms were clean, and they were huge. They're not like a typical gas station. And if you're coming out of Greenmead during the event, I support Greenmead also. And you want to stop in and use the restroom, they're clean and they're large, and they take care of them. They don't let them run down. The gas station by my house you're afraid to walk into the bathroom. It's awful. And as far as food goes, my great aunt lives a mile away. My mom just a little further. My mom turns 90 this year. We have 24-hour care for both of them in their home. And one of my caregivers is a vegetarian. And I like the fact that I can get a salad at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning and bring it over to her while she's taking care of my mom. Not everyone lives a 9-to-5 life. People have different jobs. People have different requirements. I don't see it as a high crime risk. They have cameras. They have security. They're virtually cashless now. They're a well-run company, and I think getting rid of that old building would do the site justice and putting a nice new modern building there. And I don't think it would impact the area. And if they're concerned about traffic, they should contact MDOT and see about getting the light signals changed where you have arrows for turning and give people more time to turn to reduce the traffic backup. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. Appreciate you coming down. I think that covers all the comments from our audience. We did get extensive comments from our audience, and I do appreciate everyone coming forward and speaking. We do give the petitioner the last word to speak. If there's anything that you'd like to say based on anything that you've heard, again, we don't want to create a debate back and forth, but we just want to see if there's anything you want to address.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone in the community, for coming out. That actually means quite a bit to Sheets. So Sheets, if you've noticed, I've been writing this whole time. We take those comments and I guess I'm kind of speaking through the chair here to the audience, and we look at our site plan and see if there's things that we can do to help mitigate our neighbors' concerns. So most of you now have my contact information. If you didn't get it, please find me here before the conclusion of the meeting, and I'd love to speak with you. But some of the things that we can go over here, and we'll just touch on them very lightly, because this is a rezoning request, and we'll talk more specifically during site plan review. So traffic. So we do have a traffic study on file with you all, and it involves certain recommendations. We believe that the intersection will actually function better after the modifications to the timing signal, as the traffic study suggests. Lighting. We meet the city's ordinance. All of our lighting cannot surpass the property boundaries. So all of our lights are down lighting, appropriately shielded, and we meet the foot candle requirements. So our stations are technically is not the right word. Our stations typically are very mellow when it comes to their lighting compared to maybe our counterparts that are on the freeway. Bringing me to the freeway item, this is not a truck stop. So there are some notable differences between a regular C-store that we're proposing here and a truck stop. Truck stops are much larger in acreage. They can accommodate tractor trailers being able to turn appropriately through the site, have places to park, that sort of thing. There's simply not the room here. If a tractor trailer came on our site, or forbid more than one, it would clog up our entire operation, and we would have to ask them to leave. They also wouldn't want to come on our site. So the diesel that we offer at this particular location, for smaller trucks and stuff like that, the pumps only pump about 6 gallons per minute. At a truck stop, it's about 30 gallons per minute. So at a truck stop, a big tractor trailer can fill up in about 5 minutes. On this proposed location, it would take them a half hour. They simply just do not want to come to this type of location. Pardon me while I go through my notes here. Construction sequencing was brought up by a few members of the community. It depends on the time of year, how long the construction will take. We are very quick at construction. I actually started at Sheets in our construction department, and on average, it takes us about 5 months to build one of these things. It's remarkably fast for the scale of the operation. Alcohol is not permitted for our use within the city of Livonia, so we will not be serving alcohol here. And I think those are some of the main points. Again, I've given my contact info to all the neighbors, and I would love to speak with them and see what we can do to make sure that this is a site that fits in within the character of their community.
Well,
do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Sawicki. I appreciate you just addressing some of those larger bullet points that we heard repeatedly from some of the people who spoke. You seem to encapsulate that really well and at least address some of those. Let's see if there's any questions from any of our commissioners for you.
Absolutely.
Is there any questions for the petitioner based on anything that we've heard so far before we close the public hearing? I don't see Mr. Ventura.
Can you tell us whether or not you'd be willing to limit your hours of operation to something less than 24 hours?
So all Sheets locations operate 24/7, 365. We have for many, many decades. It's something that's kind of ingrained in our culture. We offer the ultimate convenience for our consumer, and it is for those types of folks that maybe don't live the 9-to-5 lifestyle, as the previous speaker said. So at this time, we would really like to have 24/7 in Livonia.
So I take that as a no.
That is accurate, sir.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our petitioner? If not, I will close the public hearing. And thank you, Mr. Swickey, for your
Thank you.
presentation. And a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Droz?
I move to approve the resolution to request to rezone the property at 37355 8 Mile Road from C1 Local Business to C2 General Business District, and is hereby approved subject to the City Council approval for the following reasons. Point 1, a zoning change to C2 would be compatible and in harmony with the area's surrounding land uses and zoning. Point 2, the proposed C2 zoning is consistent with the longstanding commercial use of the property. Point 3, the proposed C2 zoning will allow the development of the subject property in a manner that is consistent with its size and its location and will bring additional commercial service and retail to this part of the city. And point number 4, the proposed zoning change represents a reasonable and logical plan for the subject property that adheres to sound land use planning principles.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Droz, supported by Ms. Denaro. Is there any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Droz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeNaro?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
No.
Mr. Ventura?
No.
Caremagno votes yes. Chairman Wilshaw?
Chairman's going to vote no. Motion fails to have support. Would someone like to offer an alternative resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Ventura.
I'll offer a resolution that denies this petition. The request to rezone the property at 37355 8 Mile Road from C1 Local Business to C2 General Business is hereby denied for the following reasons. Number 1, the proposed zoning contradicts the future land use map, which designates the site as parks and community. Number 2, that the proposed change of zoning is inconsistent with the adjacent zoning districts in the area. Number 3, that the proposed change in zoning is inconsistent with its established pattern of development and would adversely alter the character of the area. And number 4, that the proposed change of zoning is not needed to develop the property.
Is there support?
Support.
This is a motion to deny, made by Mr. Ventura, supported by Mr. Long. Again, is there any discussion? Mr. Droz?
My only point would be that I think point 1 of that resolution, per our discussion earlier, is that the future land use map may have been done in error, that it was to remain a commercial land use. So that's my only point to make on that.
That's a fair point, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion?
I respond to Mr. Droz.
Mr. Ventura.
And point out that planning has acknowledged that they would leave it C1. That does not mean that planning would have mandated a change to C2.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other comments on this motion? This is, again, a motion to deny. If there's no other comments, the secretary is ready. Please call the roll.
Mr. Ventura?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mrs. DeNaro?
No.
Mr. Droz?
No.
Caremagno says no. Chairman Wilshaw?
Votes aye. Again, the motion, the The vote is split. Gee, wish Mr. Bonjero came with us tonight. All right, we have a stalemate. Is anybody willing to make a motion to table this to a future date to allow for a...
Mr. Chair, is it possible that we could just send this along to City Council without a recommendation either way?
This is a rezoning request, Mr. Miller.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I think we have to have some sort of definitive ruling as a, for the city council to consider.
You have to recommend.
So we may need to wait till Mr. Bonjero gets back and the vote done. Would anybody be willing to make a tabling resolution? That would be the only other alternative.
I'll make the resolution to table this until our next meeting's in October. Is that correct? Yes. So our first meeting in October.
That'll be our next regular scheduled meeting. Mr. Long, you had a comment you wanted to make?
I would like to hear from the people at Sheets about their timetable and the effect of tabling this since we don't have a scheduled meeting for another month.
Ms. DeNaro, typically there's no discussion on tabling motions. We haven't had support for that yet. Are you willing to?
I'm willing to pull it.
To hold that for just a moment?
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Sawicki, if this was to be delayed for upwards of a month, how does that factor into your plans?
You know, it's not ideal for us. It is something that we can work with. If we may take a moment, I would like to address any concerns that any of the commissioners might have more succinctly. Is that an opportunity to answer any more questions you all might have?
I think we've had as many opportunities as we can. I do appreciate you offering that, though. We're at the point where we need to make our decision, I think.
Great, understand. Thank you.
But thank you for offering that. Ms. DeNaro, are you willing to put that motion back on the table?
Yep. Motion to table this until October.
Okay, is there support for that?
Support.
We have a motion to table by DeNaro, supported by Long. There is no discussion on tabling motions. Is there, so if the Secretary's ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Aye.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Caremagna votes aye. Chair Mulshaw.
Votes aye. Motion passes. This item has been tabled to our next regular meeting, where we will consider it again. There will be limited discussion at that meeting.
Are we going to be able to talk to Mr. Bonjero? Is he going to be able to hear our concerns?
He will have the full record. Everything that was said today is fully recorded, word for word, in our minutes, and he'll have an opportunity to review those.
I get that, but I want him to hear the passion in our voice.
This is also videotaped too and broadcast, so he can also watch it as well. But yeah, at our next meeting, it will be a pending item because it's one that we've already had a public hearing on, so there will not be open discussion. So we're not going to have a full comment period again. But Mr. Bonjero will hopefully be there, and we'll be able to make a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming this evening.
When is that next meeting?
So how do we know what the result of Mr. Bonjero's input is if we're all not allowed to come to the next meeting?
Ma'am, you are welcome to come to the meeting. These are all open meetings.
Okay.
And that date will be, is it October
8th?
8th, October 8th. So that's the date if you wish to.
7 p.m. again.
Yes, 7 p.m. downstairs.
You may want to discuss the whole process, whatever happens with us,
That's fair, Mr. Long. I do appreciate you mentioning that. Just so anyone who's not familiar with how these petitions go through the city process, this is kind of a four-step, sort of four-meeting process, in the sense that the petitioner comes to us with a rezoning request. That's what we're dealing with today, to rezone this property from C1 to C2, regardless of what goes onto the property. We make a decision on that. This is a recommending decision that then goes on to City Council. The City Council, after holding their own meeting and their own public hearing, will make the final vote on whether the property is rezoned or not. And what they do is they will, they have to do a first reading and second reading. It's a multi-step process even for them. They will hold the first reading if they get this. Let's assume that this is, we recommend approval. It will go to City Council. City Council will consider it. If they want to go forward with it as well, they'll hold it into a first reading. Then the petitioner will come back to us and start a process of a site plan. This is the part where we go through looking at the building and the layout and the wall and the entrances and all the little nitty-picky details of the property. That comes to us. Again, we review it. We work with the petitioner to try to get what we feel is the best petition possible. We'll either approve or deny that particular site plan. And then again, that will go to City Council with that recommendation. City Council will then vote on the zoning and on the site plan at some point in the future. So it's a multi-step process. We are just making recommendations to City Council. So regardless of if we approve or deny this, the petitioner will have an opportunity to appeal or to make that presentation again to the City Council, and the City Council will ultimately be making the final decision. So just so you understand, it's a long process. It's a multi-steps process. And the City Council is really the one that's going to make the final decisions on this, not us. We're just doing the homework and trying to get the best plan we can for the city. I go ahead with just one question, because you're in the audience and people TV can't hear you.
So with what you just went through, how long does all that take?
It's a couple-month process, at least. And it depends on scheduling, when meetings occur and all that type of thing, which is unfortunately why you're going to have a bit of a delay now, because we don't have a meeting between now and the beginning of October. So that adds a little bit of a delay. So it's unfortunate, but that's what it is. So with that, we are done for the public hearing on this item. We are now going to move on to item number 2 on our agenda. Thank you for those who did come tonight. Mr. Secretary?
Item number 2, petition 2024-08-02-13, submitted by A&B Fuel Mart, requesting waiver use approval under section 6.51 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to operate a food truck at the Shell gas station at 33411 6 Mile Road, located at the southwest corner of 6 Mile and Farmington Roads in the northeast quarter of section 16.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And you thought everyone was here for your food truck.
It's only me, the small fish.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Good evening. Thank you so much for gathering today. My name is Ali Hamouche. Yes.
One second, Mr. Hamouche. Mr. Miller is going to give us a background on this.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. The subject site measures 160 feet along Farmington Road by 135 feet along 6 Mile. The existing one-story building is approximately 1,500 square feet. It is positioned at an approximately 45-degree angle to the intersection. There are 2 groups of gas pumps, one fronting along 6 Mile, the other on Farmington. You have 4 driveways providing ingress and egress on the site, 2 on Farmington and 2 on 6 Mile. The site is zone C2 under section 6.51 of the zoning ordinance. Food trucks are treated as a waiver use under the same subcategory as a drive-in restaurant. One requirement is that no drive-in restaurant, in this case the food truck, shall be located nearer than 200 feet as measured to property to a religious institution. There's no religious institution within 200 feet of the property. The layout: the proposed food truck would be parked next to the north end of the existing building. There would be no seating area or carryout, and only carryout service would be provided. Parking is based on the station. They're required to have 8 parking spaces. That's what the site plan shows. There's also 12 more parking spaces at the pumps, which most gas stations says that customers use, but these are not counted as parking. There's no other modifications planned for this site, and that's basically the. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there some correspondence?
Sure. First correspondence is from the Department of Public Works Engineering Division, dated August 12th, 2024. Says, in accordance with the request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to proposed waiver use at this time. The subject property is assigned the address of 33411 6 Mile Road. The legal description submitted with the petition appears to be correct and should be used for this waiver use, should this waiver use be granted. The existing parcel is currently served by public water main and sanitary sewer, as well as private storm sewer. The submittal does not indicate any changes to the existing utility leads, so we do not believe there will be any additional impacts on public utilities with this proposal. Should the changes to the existing building leads be needed, the owner shall submit proposed drawings to the department to determine if permits will be required. Also, should there any work be required within the 6 Mile Road or Farmington Road right-of-ways, the owner may be required to obtain permits by the Wayne County Department of Public Service, and that is signed by David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. The other next one is from the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. I have reviewed the plans in connection with the petition. I have no objections to the proposal, and that is signed by Paul Walters, Sergeant, Traffic Bureau. The next one is from the Department of Public Safety, Livonia Fire and Rescue, and that's dated September 10th, 2024. This office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with the request to operate a food truck on the property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections to the proposal for the following. We have no objections to this proposal with the following stipulations. Number one, contact with the city building department to inquire or obtain the appropriate permits. 2, guidelines and codes will be provided and followed to the food truck operator and the gas station business by the fire department prevention division prior to setup. 3, on-site inspection by the fire department and building department inspection will inspect the food truck and set up site on the day of setup and prior to opening for business to ensure code compliance. Sales will not commence until violations, if any, are corrected. 4, separation distance from permanent structures and gas pumps will be enforced. 5, to the food truck vendor and gas station owner. Read, understand, and follow the guidelines and codes to ensure compliance prior to inspection and help with streamlining this process with minimum to no violations. And that is signed by Brian Cupola, Fire Marshal. Next one is from the Inspection Department. Pursuant to your request, the above referenced petition has been reviewed. Number 1, the proposed food truck trailer shall be located at least 10 feet from the existing structure or provide a rated firewall for separation. 2, permits and inspections shall be obtained if this project moves forward. And that is signed by Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. Next one is Department of Finance. I have reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. There are no outstanding amounts receivable, general, or water and sewer. I have no objections to the proposal, and that is signed by Connie Cupola, Assistant or Chief Accountant. The next one is from the City Office of the Treasurer. All taxes and water payments are current and with this property, and that is signed by Sue Nash. And then we have a letter from a resident. This is this is dated August 29, 2024. Dear City of Livonia, we are in receipt of petition 2024-08-02-13 submitted by A and B Fuel Mart requesting waiver use approval under the section 6.51 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to operate a food truck. We are requesting that this permit be denied because there are plenty of available lease space for businesses in the immediate area, and granting this permit distracts from that. Additionally, in Burton Hollow Plaza, there is pizza, Mexican, Chinese, subs, breakfast, and ice cream, to name a few. We feel our tenants will be unhappy about this potential permit because it will affect their revenue for whatever long this permit is granted. And that is signed by Rebecca Poulin, property manager of, this is property manager. That's it. That's the extent of the
Okay,
correspondence.
thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there any questions for our planning staff? If not, Mr.
I have
Oh,
one.
oh, go ahead, Mr. Naro.
Do we have food trucks anywhere else in the city?
No, this is the first one that's ever gone through.
I'm the first one to step forward.
All right. Mr. Droz?
Take the hammer.
And one question, Mr. Miller. You mentioned, I believe it was building official Hannah recommended that, was it a 10-foot separation?
Yes.
Between the building and the truck. Was that a conditional if it had a fire-rated wall, or was that?
It just says
And?
that they're 10 feet from the existing structure or provide a rated firewall for separation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions for our Plus staff? Mr. Ventura?
Mr. Miller, I read the ordinance that you made reference to, that talks about food trucks. It specifically gives a definition of a food truck as a large wheeled vehicle. And if you go on and read throughout the ordinance makes a clear distinction between a vehicle and a trailer. This is not a vehicle, this is a trailer. So how does this come before us, since it doesn't comply at all with the ordinance?
Well, he is, basically, he's asking for a general food truck. So he's kind of given generic food trucks, like here's what I could put there. I mean, you could make a recommendation that it has to be a food truck instead of a trailer. But I mean, it's not like tied down to say this has to be this specific food truck. He's just asking that, can I park a food truck there, basically is what he's asking.
All right, so the illustration of the trailer really doesn't mean anything.
No, I think he just submitted that as a generic, the food truck could look like that. He's also, now he's submitted different, he submitted this. I guess this kind of looks like a trailer. But that's the food truck basically he's going for now. So if you want to classify that as a trailer, I guess I'm not, I mean, that is
Okay,
a
great,
food
thank you.
truck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our staff? If not, Mr. Hamouche, you're up. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Ali Hamouche, 3341 16 Mile Road, Livonia, Michigan. Shell gas station. So this is, I think, my second time here after the first time that I actually changed the gas station upside down, give it a facial lift, making sure that it actually meets the neighbor expectation and also Livonia expectation as well, the city council and also the commissioners here. Appreciate everything, all the support you guys gave us in making that happen. Now, for the food truck, whether it's a truck or a trailer, we are open. And whether if you want to make it as a trailer or not, but just at the end of the day, we listen to our customers, our neighbor. We have a great neighborhood beside us, and they'd love to see some authentic food like Middle Eastern shawarma available in the neighborhood, which is not available within our neighborhood there. So that's what came up from, and they just want to try something that interesting, right? I mean, if you go in the Metro Detroit area now, you guys drive around and you see a lot of food trucks out there now in the different cities. Everybody is approving it. Everybody is seeing it. And we got a lot of our neighbors. They would love to see something like this in the type of the Middle Eastern shawarma, the popular name of shawarma. So I moved forward. I told them, okay, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to take the first step with the city of Livonia and see what's going to happen. So as a matter of fact, I did. I looked at the site. I saw where we can store that and make sure we comply with all the ordinance and the health department. As a matter of fact, I'm a current franchisee of a tropical smoothie. So there's no way I'm gonna run this down because the reputation is, my name is there, my gas station is there, I'm a tropical smoothie franchisee in Ann Arbor. And so I know all the standards of food. How can I make the customer happy? I will technically serve that I will need to have actual authority over that to make sure it meets the standard, it's not run down, and they offer good food. So that's where we came from about that, about the idea of having food truck in that area, at that corner.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your presentation. Do we have some questions for our petitioner? Anyone?
That's cool.
Mr. Ventura?
So, will you have different foods there over time? In other words, my business is in an office building in Southfield.
Yes.
And we have a steady parade of different food trucks that come in there. They're not trailers, they're actual trucks. And different kinds of food. So one week it'll be shawarma, next week it's pizza, next week it's fried chicken and so forth. There's an assortment.
Yeah.
And different kinds of foods. Will that be what you're doing here?
No, it will be one consistent. I mean, basically, we collected a lot of. I mean, I wish I would have actually brought the folder up. I listened to my neighbors what they want. A lot of them were asking for something to do with the Middle Eastern shawarma thing. So we will focus on that food only. And given the background of where I came from, I'm sure I can make it good.
I guess one follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. You acknowledged that you were here before us before, and we gave you an approval to expand your gas station to put a food service in there. Can you tell us what happened to that plant?
No, when we asked for that expansion, it wasn't the food service. Actually, it was only to get more storage. And due to the fact that that was started in 2019, we went through the COVID era at that time. After that, the inflation happened, and things went skyrocket with everything with construction, the material, the cost. So we actually kind of narrow it down, say, okay, what we have now is enough to serve the community. For the financial reasons, let's focus more on bringing the station up to the standard, to what we want to bring it up in the corner. And we just decided to just do a facelift instead of expanding.
Thank you. You did a nice job with your facelift.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Looks very nice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for our petitioner? Mr. Jones?
A couple. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For this particular food truck, we haven't had many in the city, so had to do a little searching around. Would you classify this as a special transitory food unit or a mobile food service setup?
I'm sorry, so repeat the last two words.
Maybe I'll try to define that based on my understanding of it, but there is a special transitory food unit or a mobile food service setup. And I think the difference is that one of them is more of a, basically, goes home every night. So it goes back to the commissary for servicing. Or do you plan for this to be more of a, I'll call it a semi-permanent type?
No, it's going to be actually permanent.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess with that, how will this set up, basically, I'm asking questions about power, noise, how will it be basically maintained?
Absolutely. This is self-serve. So everything you see in front of you here, it has its own air condition. It has its own propane tanks as well, and it does have its own generator. So it's self, and also doesn't need any water from us, or doesn't actually put water to the system. It's self-contained, self-served by itself. That's the way how it's actually built.
But how is that maintained, I guess?
Maintained as far as from inside? Can you put the picture from inside? So inside and outside, technically it's going to be like part of the building. I will have to make sure that it's always, have the good graphics there, not faded. Always the paint is there from outside exterior. And from inside, as you can see, it's stainless steel, and you can immediately tell that this is very clean.
Maybe if I could rephrase my question, it was more of a, operationally, how is, obviously you need water for cooking, and there's going to be wastewater and trash.
That's what I'm saying.
How would that be? Is that something that somebody comes to pick up and basically pumps it down every day?
Correct.
Or how does that work?
Correct. I mean, everything has a container in it, a capacity that can actually hold. And then every so often it gets served by special people to come in and do that.
Okay.
Yep. So we don't actually, they don't come in and plug in anything to our system of the station. It's self by itself.
Okay. And then you'll have if I understand it correctly, a generator running whenever it's in operation?
Correct.
Okay.
But the generator is not like a generator. It's like a noisy generator. It's kind of what's the word for it? It's silent, right? The decibels for it is very, very low. You can even tell it's running. Because it's a small operation. What does it need for? Like a light and technically the register, and during the winter time or during the summertime, just for that HVAC to run.
Okay. I do have a few other questions about the site plan as well.
Absolutely.
And this is just my review of the site plan. I believe that site plan should be accurate to the conditions as best you can present. So there's a couple things that in reviewing it, I wanted to ask about. The first one was the truck is going to be adjacent to the building, and it looked like it was about a 30 by 15 foot area that currently is occupied by a barrier-free parking space. And I believe it looks like it's shown to be relocated to the other side of the building. If this is to be the case, it would seem to me like that needs to be part of this site plan. And I think the space, based on just how it's typically done with best practices, is that space should be as close to the building as possible to provide barrier-free access. And in addition to that, the building itself, I think, is up on a curb. So actually, if you're in a wheelchair, you actually can't get into the front door. So I guess from my view, it's these are things that to me this is a little incomplete. And I think, especially if this basically being I'm going to call it a permanent installation, I think there's additional site improvements that might be needed if you want to speak to any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Ventura actually brought up a good point as we were expanding where you see that red dotted line. That actually, the site plan is when we were expanding, right? So that expansion right there, I mean, on the right-hand side, my apology, we should have actually crossed this out. There is a handicap right there to the right-hand side. And where the red zone is, it's 18 feet by 30. That one is 18 foot by 30. And we will not relocate the handicap. There is enough actually to be able to park, because the food truck is only 8 foot. That's the width of it. And you can go up to 16 or 24. It depends on what you want to do. So between 8 and 10, if we have to be away from the structure, we have enough room. Now, as I said, my apology, because this was for the site plan that we have for the expansion, and it didn't happen. So the relocating of the handicap, it will stay right there. And we do have 11 spaces of parking plus a handicap there, plus 8 at the pumps. So in total, if you consider you can park at the pump is 19. So we don't see an issue with relocating the handicap while that truck is there, and we will be able to service. But as I said, my apology that we should have actually crossed that handicap on the left-hand side and have it where the third car, where beside the red zone is. So that where that site plan came. And I'm very honest about this as well. We were under the time crunch to have it tabled at your meeting today, and that's what I had. And honestly, I did talk to my engineer, to architect. He didn't respond back to me to update it, only to show like everything as we need. I decided to mark it, but I did miss that handicap spot. It's just a spot there. It's still on the right-hand side. And you can see it from the Google map. It's still there.
Understood. And I think that's you know, as we mentioned, this is our first, so
Yeah, absolutely.
I
You
think
have the right
there's
to ask any question. As I said, I'm up here in order to get the hammer, so.
Yeah, I think we want to make this, you know, as concise as we can. And another point to that, if this is going to be a permanent installation, I think there's 2 wall pack lights on the building right in that area that, I guess, and what I'm getting at is if this comes back, I'd like to see considerations for what photometric impacts that would have. If this is a large unit and it happens to block that, I want to just make sure that site lighting is maintained.
Absolutely. I mean, the unit does not go beyond like 9-10 feet. And those are set above like 13 foot above. You can see those lights, so it's not going to, as a matter of fact, it's just going to provide more safety because the lights will shed down toward that.
Okay, I think I'd just like to see that flushed out a little bit more, just because especially if that's going to be up on a curb and how big the structure is. I think these are some details that I'd like to see a little more clarity to, personally.
Like the height?
The height, the site layout of it, you know, if there's going to be ramping to get up to this, it's up
Ramping
on a
to
curb.
get up where? I'm sorry.
To get your truck up on top of there's like some sidewalk in that. It's like a stamped concrete area right now.
That's right.
Yeah, so I think just to demonstrate how you're going to get that truck up there, and so.
I mean, it's that's one that's only 4 inches, which is, I mean, 4 inches you can go with a bike above. You don't need any. I mean, I don't know what else I can explain how we're gonna get the truck up. I mean, I can get you the measurement for where I mean, you can clearly see where the projectors are, and the food truck is. I mean, you stand at the food truck here, is not above 10 foot above you. I mean, it's 10 foot the most you can get any food truck.
My opinion on that is I'd like to see that on paper. And I can visualize what you're saying, but, you know, we're seeing this truck for the first time. And you know, and I'm being considerate of that, and I'd like to have a chance to look at that in a little more detail.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else, Mr. Droz?
Nothing for.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Caremagna?
what do you envision the hours being for the food truck?
Like 11 till 11.
11 to 11, Monday through Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, and you
Or
do-
maybe Sunday till like 10 because no one
Okay,
leaves
you-
the house at 9.
And you do envision it being a trailer like this on jack stands, wheels chalked off, and that's kind of how you envision it?
I mean, just like that. Or at a different, they have those that Mr. Ventura actually mentioned as they have some of these that they can actually be, which is not, this is more better looking than these actually drivable trucks.
Okay, cooler outside, all that, that's kind of how it's going to look when it's in operation?
Yeah. Nice, beautiful graphics outside, cool, nice colors, you know, making sure that always clean. No
Okay.
paint chips, nothing.
All
I
right,
mean, it's the corner of my store. I mean,
Yeah, I get
I
that.
mean, at the end
Thank you.
of the day, this is my name is there in the corner. I don't want to hurt my name there.
All right, all set?
That's it, yep.
Any other questions? There's no other questions. I do have one. Currently, there's a outdoor ice storage unit there.
Yeah, this
Where is that going to go?
to the other side.
The approving resolution for your expansion of your business in 2020, 2019, I guess it's 2020 by the time we got
Yeah.
it all done, had a provision that said that the sale of outdoor ice shall be restricted to, or excuse me, the sale of ice shall be restricted to the inside of the building. That was part of the approving resolution then. That's not being complied with. You're not allowed outdoor ice according to the
That was
approval back in 2020.
okay. Well, thank you for bringing this up, but it was actually the expansion, right? We didn't do an expansion at that time. We just did the facelift,
Right.
and actually we comply with all the every year. What do you call it? You know, the building inspection when he comes in,
Mhm.
and you know, we make sure that everything is whatever the city says. So the city prohibit us from selling any wood logs outside, and we did that. We moved them out, and they only allow to have ice just like any other gas stations outside.
Right, well, we're typically, as gas stations come to us for any facelifts or any sort of approvals of any plans, we always attach a number of requirements to those approving resolutions, and that would include things such as free air, no outdoor storage of, or outdoor sale of merchandise other than oil, I believe. And that also includes a specific provision of the ice not being permitted outside in the approving resolution for your site. So,
I totally agree with you, but
so
the expansion was eliminated. That was actually going to sit inside.
You're gonna ultimately have to answer to the inspection department when they were aware of this. They may have not noticed it, but just because you didn't necessarily go through with the scale of your entire expansion doesn't mean that you're not bound by the conditions of that approving resolution. So I just want to make that aware to you that it appears as if you're out of compliance for that aspect of that approving resolution. So you may want to think about where that ice chest goes, and it may not want to be outdoors because, again, that's not allowed right now. So I just want to bring that to your attention, sir. Is there any other questions or comments?
One question.
Sure, Ms. DeNiro.
Are you going to be managing the food truck, or is this going to be like a third party?
It's going to be under our management.
Okay.
That's a good question. Because it could just be a completely separate entity operating that, yeah. Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? There is no one left in the audience to speak for or against this petition, so there's no need to go to our audience and ask for comments. It's just Mr. Hamouche with us left. So is there anything else that you'd like to say before we make our decision?
No, absolutely not. I just, as I said, Mr. Ryan, that expansion, as I said, was to have enough storage to put these things in. And we made every possible thing to bring this up to what the city wants and the neighbor wants and to that corner to how it actually looks like. And if that expansion did happen, okay, we only did the facelift. If that expansion did happen, we would actually have it to put it inside 100%. But if you go inside the station now, I mean, honestly, there is no space for it. I mean, I did not do anything against what I understood. I understood that the expansion, if this happened, I'm going to put it in. And that's my intention. It wasn't actually to tweak anything, but that's totally where I came from.
Well, I understand. I understand. It's not going to be my call to make anyway. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
No, thank you.
Inspection
but,
may disagree.
That's my point of view on this.
Okay.
Don't you think I was around the corner? But that's, I'm just, every other gas station in Livonia, it does have that, freezer outside for the ice.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. If there's no other comments or questions, I'll close the public hearing and a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Long.
So I frequent Mr. Hamouche's gas station, and I think he runs a good business. However, I don't think this is right for that corner, so I'm going to offer a denying resolution that this request to operate a food truck at the Shell gas station, 334116 Mile Road, is denied for the following reasons. Number one, that the petitioner has failed to comply with all general standards and requirements as set forth in Section 6.51 of Livonia Vision 21 zoning ordinance. Number two, that the proposal is in conflict with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance to promote and encourage a balanced and appropriate mix of uses and not to oversaturate an area with similar uses. And number three, that the petitioner has failed to sufficiently demonstrate that the site has the capacity to accommodate the proposed use. And number four, that the petitioner has failed to comply with all the concerns deemed necessary for the safety and welfare of the city and its residents.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, there is a motion on the floor to deny by Mr. Long, supported by Mr. Caremagno. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing nothing, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Long.
Aye.
Caremagna votes aye. Mrs. DeNaro.
No.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye. Motion passes. This is a denying motion. Sir, you will have 10 days in which to appeal this is a waiver use request, so you'll have 10 days to appeal the decision in writing to our city council if you'd like to take this further to them.
Okay.
All right? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for coming. And that ends the public hearing section of our agenda. We do have one more item on our agenda.
That is the approval of minutes of the 1,218th public hearing and regular meeting held by the Planning Commission on August 20th, 2024.
All members were present with the exception of Ms. DeNaro, I believe. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Long, supported by
A second.
Mr. Droz. And if there's no objection, I think we can safely show 5, if my math is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With Ms. DeNaro stating.
Yep.
Thank you. If there's no objections, we'll mark that down. And that takes us to the end of our meeting. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Ms. DeNaro, and supported by
Support.
Mr. Ventura. And that is a motion to adjourn. Again, if there's no objections, we'll show 6 on that. I see no objections from anyone, so we'll mark that as a 6. And we have the end of our meeting tonight. I want to thank Livonia Television staff for bringing this meeting to our community, and it was a long one. We are going to be adjourning this meeting at 9:11 p.m. and wish good night, Livonia.